For this year's installment of my build, we're going to be going through some things a little bit differently than before. But anyways, we're going to look at the main parts, then go into some demos, and with some further explanation of some of the nitty-gritty stuff after that. Hope you guys enjoy. Alright, now starting from the top, we're looking at my 2002 Ford Explorer Eddie Bauer edition. The audio setup is primarily composed of Rockford Fosgate products, with some other brands mixed in here and there, mostly due to accessibility and ease. For front speakers, we're running T1 6.5 components, tweeter mounted up a little bit higher, 6.5 in the modified door location, with the passive crossovers hidden under the kicks. In the rear doors, we're using the T1 6x8 coaxial series in the stock locations. Powering these two sets of speakers is a T604 hidden under one of the floor panels in the rear. For the start of the show, we are running a single T2 13-inch, this is the single 2-ohm variant, in a custom-built enclosure by yours truly. Powering this beast of a driver is nothing less than a T2500 BDCP with a burr sheet of 3116 at 1 ohms and 2994 at 2 ohms, which would be the relevant number in this case. Now for the brains of the operation, if you will. The head unit I chose for this build is an NX706 from Clarion. Primarily I chose this because of the expandability with the optical output in the future, but in this setup I'm just using the 3 pairs of pre-outs that it has. In addition to integrated steering wheel control for volume and mute, I have a PEQ wedged between the driver's seat and the center console for further control. To power this system, I'm using a Mechman 240 alternator in tune with 2 custom mounted yellow top Optimas, the D3478 variant. The power cabling consists of parallel runs of 1/0 welding cable that run from each battery up front, down under the vehicle along the chassis, and they pop up in the same compartment as the T604, and then are fused and distributed to both amplifiers. For outdoor parties or similar events, I use a PSC 60 from XS Power. It's a great little power supply, and I built a little chassis to carry it around in. For cooling off these hidden amplifiers, I either have a 4 or 6 fan setup, whether or not I have the beauty panel in. They're controlled by 2 45°C normally open dryer switches that are zip tied to the heat sinks on either one of the amps. In addition to everything I just went over, there is approximately 120 to 150 square feet of Wired's premium sound deadener spread throughout the vehicle, including a double layer on the roof and a full layer on almost every body panel that I could access. Alright guys, you've seen the system. Now it's time to crack into a couple demos. Alright, now time for the much more casual part of this video where I do the walk and talk thing. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's a little bit different take with a little bit more production value in there. But anyways, here's some of the things that, if you're still with me, I'm going to talk about. Just starting under the hood here. So from the MechMan, we have parallel number 1 runs over to the batteries, shielded in this wire loom, as well as the parallel grounds as well. Getting around this engine is a little bit difficult. Got some battery mount, really love it. Cheapo Lordco lead battery terminals, off, industrial lugs, crimping lugs. 2 200 amp fuse blocks, also a Lordco product. Those dive under, like that. Each amplifier is grounded separately. One's grounded down there, that'd be the T604, and then this T2500 has its own ground lead that runs from the terminal block under the amp in through this little, like, it's almost like a little raceway down here, and then it dives down to the chassis down there. You can actually see it right there, right before it dives. Those are the other 2 fans. You couldn't see them before, and usually I have a block of foam in here, which actually should be right here, to keep the airflow going more around the amp. Then there's the 2 in the beauty panel over here, which I have a separate video more on the fans if you're interested. Just 2 12-volt fans. No fancy connectors because I couldn't find any, and so it's not a scene thing. They just get threaded into those guys. Not a full version. Parallel runs of number 8 speaker cable that go into 2 blocks you could have seen under there, and then into the driver enclosure. And so a little closer look, nothing too fancy. I'm not going to open up the other part because it's actually a real pain in the ass during this walk and talk. But I have videos explaining everything in more detail if you're interested in the cooling or just interesting to see it. It's not the best looking thing by any means, but it's intermediate, I would say. I don't know what else there's really to talk about. If you guys have any other questions, please ask. I'm pretty good at replying to any comments or questions. Constructive criticism is very appreciated. Most of the media I consume off this is off the jump drive. It's more for charging the phone as well. It does work if you did want to use that anything off of an iPhone. If you could also plug an Android into here. By that I mean the USB in the back of the head unit. You could. Yeah. You guys have a good one now.